I created this this slide because I needed it for working with a team leader, and when I went to that school and I showed her this graphic, because when you drill down to the student level and you start really thinking about what impacts the students, it really, the most impact is the teacher. And then you can go out into the content, attendance, and discipline, and then whatever that school-wide area of focus will be. But really, the teacher affects the student more than anything in that school, and building those relationships is so key. So when I showed this graphic to her, she said, oh my gosh, she said, that just made me realize I've got my list of kids over here, and I know that I have a teacher issue with some of those kids. They are doing poorly in attendance, discipline, ISSOS, all of those areas because of direct effect of the teacher. And so it just kind of was an aha for her. So I wanted to bring this to your attention, because when you do get your list of students, that's the first thing you need to look at is, okay, the teacher is going to be affected. So all that to say, your whole school needs to be involved in this. It needs to be, every teacher on your staff needs to know who these kids are, because they may teach 2 or 3 or 4 of them. And if they do, they need to know who they are and what services those kids need and are getting, and what supports they need to provide with those kids.
These are some of the risk factors that you look at when you're trying to get your targeted students, and this is probably things you're already looking at right now that's already in your data system. So your discipline referrals, retention rates, attendance records, course completion, passing grades, state and local assessment scores, extracurricular involvement, interviews, and other anecdotal type things. So to get your students that you'll be tracking, you know, she said you can pick the students that you know your focus is for your focus schools that need to be brought up or closing the gap. But consider the other things like this. We were talking earlier about thinking outside the box about the kind of data that you use. Some of my schools actually went through and did student surveys and actually looked at the percentage of students that were actually directly involved in the extracurricular activities in their schools. And what they found out is they were thinking all students were in some way or another involved with something, but that wasn't true. Maybe 60% were involved and like 40% of them didn't do anything, nothing whatsoever. And when I mean involved, I mean 60% actually were in the sports and went to the games and did other things like that also, but there was 40% that were not involved in any way. So they actually had to increase and like get extracurricular activities. When they did the student survey, what are some other things you're interested in? When they started a skateboarding club, they started, you know, other than a band, they also had an acoustic guitar, or, you know, other little things that they had after school for. And it does take the whole staff coming together and working together on some of those things. When you're looking at the disciplinary referrals and stuff like that, you don't stop just at the student. If your data system's set up where you can actually locate in the school the times of the day that the behaviors are happening, which teachers the behaviors are occurring with most, and you're probably already looking at some of that stuff now. Who is it that typically writes it up? You know, is it one teacher writing it up? Is it every teacher writing it the same? Have you trained your staff? You know, stuff like that. So these are all kinds of things you're going to look at when you're going through and doing your data collection and process and stuff. Okay, and this is number 4 on your action plan, in your sample action plan.
Okay, and one of the ways that we collect data with our project is to use what we call the student assessment tool. And that tool is used to monitor discipline, attendance, ISSOS, and then course failures. Those are the 4 main things that we look at. We know those other things are important, but those definitely need to be something that we're tracking. So we use this tool, and it's in an Excel spreadsheet. And I just want to give you an idea of what this tool will do. You may or may not want to use it, because your student information systems may create reports that will give you the information that you need. So this is just kind of an option of something that you can use if you choose. I did want to show you this tool because it tracks it by grading period. And some of my team leaders that have used this, at first they thought, oh, this is so much extra work, but then they started really, when they were actually inputting the data, they were making a connection between, oh my gosh, Johnny's been out 9 days this week, 9 weeks, and I haven't really caught that. So they began to make some connections. So anyway, this tool works like this. I just did 3 students of just some fake data here for you to see. And so if you click on the tab at the bottom, it actually brings up a chart of all 3 of those students. So if I did 52 students in there, it would show where I was with the 52 students. And then it would also then, if I filter out and just pick one of those students, I'll just choose student 1. Then it filters those, obviously. And then notice at the bottom, it keeps track of how many total days for all of the students that you're keeping up with as well. And then it would give us just a chart on that student 1. And so if I was doing a student conference or a parent conference, that would be a great thing for me to be able to take into that conference and have some data right there for the student to see. Okay, so that's the student assessment tool. And again, that's kind of an optional tool. We have it available if you want it. It's on the website that you can download. But I'm sure that you have data people in your school that can help you figure out ways to get to that. So just referring you again back to that action plan, I want to reiterate that number 1 and number 2 would be completed before you come to the day-to-day, which your collaboration coaches will set up with your regions, so you'll know when that will be, and it will be before September the 25th. And then 3, 4, and 5 then kind of come and roll out after that happens. And I think just the last little piece is just reminding you about the step-by-step process in your manual. That's a really great resource for you to have. And again, everything in the manual, for example, the data probe even has what is the data probe before it, so you can read about what it is. And so everything's really defined well in the manual, so it's a really great resource. And for us, if you have any questions, these are our email addresses.